What's up, everybody? We're doing our third book review here today. It is going to be on the book Elon Musk by Ashley Vance. Obviously, this book is about Elon Musk, the innovative engineer, designer, current CEO of Tesla Motors and SpakeX. So this is a biography, and it goes from the early childhood of Musk up through a few years ago, close to where he is currently as the CEO of Tesla and SpakeX. It starts out in Musk's childhood where, you know, from the very beginning, people could tell that he was gifted. He read a ton. He would just read all the books that were available to him, and he absorbed them so much that he read all the books in his local library and would try and convince the librarian to get him more books. And this was by like the age of 6 or 7. He was actually really interested in sci-fi books. And this is what, you know, ended up leading to his passions for space exploration and advanced technology. He was also a little bit of an awkward kid, and he would oftentimes, his family and friends would just find him staring off into space. And this is because Elon Musk's mind is probably different from, you know, me and yours, in that he actually has the ability to do math and design things purely in his mind. So whereas even a trained engineer would require, you know, writing and working out a design, Elon Musk has the ability to do all of that within his own mind. And so from the time he was a little kid, he would just create purely with his mind. And his father was actually a very successful electrical engineer. They lived in South Africa, and then as a younger child, he actually traveled all around the world with his father before finally moving away from his father and moving to Canada because he wanted to come to the US. And the relationship with his father was weird. Elon Musk actually described his father as a man who could take the best experience and make it miserable. Elon Musk actually would not allow Ashley, the man who wrote this book, to interview his father for the book. So Ashley is a reporter, and he wanted to do a story of the life of Musk. When he first approached Elon Musk, Musk told him, no, you know, I don't have time for this, and that he didn't want his life's work up to this point being written down. And Ashley pursued it anyway, and after a while ended up basically capturing the attention of Elon Musk, and Elon Musk kind of realized that this was going to happen, that this was going to be written about him, and so he ended up participating. But one of his, you know, prerequisites for helping out with the writing of the book was that his father not be interviewed, his father not be included at all. So they definitely had a very, you know, tense, tough relationship. And everyone else in the family that Ashley interviewed pretty much said the same thing, that, you know, there was something off about Elon's father. So Elon, after spending time with his father traveling the world, went to Canada, spent some time studying about the finance there, got to know some influential people, and got some good mentors before he moved to the United States and began pursuing college degrees. So he got his first dual degrees from Penn State in, I believe it was Penn State, in economics and physics. He began to make friends better once he was in college because he was finally surrounded by people who had the same visionary ideas as him and, you know, would think about stuff. And the girl who ended up becoming his first wife actually said that on their first date, Elon Musk asked her if she ever thought about electric cars, which at the time, nobody thought about electric cars. You know, electric cars didn't really become a thing until Tesla. So he was able to connect with these people better when he was in college. He started making really powerful friend groups and becoming more successful in his relationships. He wrote some really great papers in college that got amazing marks because he could mix business and engineering better than most people. You know, he'd write a paper that was not only engineeringly sound, but was business sound as well. So after he graduated, he attended the Wharton School of Business and earned an MBA from there, piddled around working a little bit, didn't find anything he loved, and enrolled in a physics program, PhD physics program at Stanford. 2 days in, he dropped out to found his first company with one of his friends. The company was called Zip2. So Zip2, the idea of you're zipping to somewhere, was kind of the first Google Maps. So it took them a while to get it off the ground. They worked really hard, but they ended up selling it, and a few years later, and Elon Musk became a millionaire at that point. He almost immediately, re-enrolled his money into a new company that ended up merging with PayPal, and a few years later they sold that, and Elon Musk's profit was $140 million. At this time, he'd gotten married to that same girl from college, and they ended up having 5 children together. So Elon definitely had some relationship issues, whether it was a tough childhood, he was bullied a lot, or the relationship with his father, or the fact that he was just so brilliant that he would oftentimes prioritize his goals in life and his goals to put man on Mars, put people on Mars, make humans an interplanetary species. He would sometimes prioritize that over human interaction. So this would cause him to viciously go at his employees sometimes when he felt like they were underperforming. He'd often fire people, like just fire them. And it did cause some trouble and eventually a divorce with his first wife. He actually also was ousted as CEO of PayPal, and someone else came in and took over because, Elon had a different vision for the company. Again, where these people in Silicon Valley, they could see, wow, we could make a ton of money off this company that we started not that long ago. 60 employees, they sold it for hundreds of millions of dollars. Elon Musk wanted to completely revolutionize the way banking was done. And so this was the first time that he really realized that he had to be better at, office politics and stuff, because his vision was not achieved. Even though he walked away massively rich, he didn't do what he wanted to do. So he actually took the money, the $140 million, and basically invested all of it. He bought a car, which he famously flipped. It was uninsured, I believe it was a McLaren, but he basically invested all this money back into first SpaceX. He began with the idea that he wanted to build a rocket company to break into an area that was controlled by NASA, Boeing, these big, huge government contracts. And Elon Musk realized they were buying rockets from the Russians that still had 1960s and 1970s technology. He said, if we put our soul into this, put our heart into this, and I get some good engineers, I can make rockets for 1/10 of the price that are way better. And that's basically what he did with SpaceX. Is he went all in on this company that, everyone was like, dude, you're building a rocket company, are you crazy? There's no way you can compete with Boeing and, these government contracts. And, at the end of the book, SpaceX was doing really well, but actually while I was writing this review, my grandma walked in and said she was watching a rocket, and I asked, oh, well, do you know who fired it? And she was like, yeah, it's that guy, Elon Musk. And so now he's at the point where he's sending up rockets consistently, and he's making a lot of money sending stuff to the International Space Station because his rockets are better. And, he approached a big, crazy project in, his focused, determined way, and was able to create better rockets than NASA, or, well, NASA doesn't create the rockets, but than Boeing or any of these other big companies. And then he saw Tesla as well. Tesla was a small motor company at the time. He invested a bunch of money into it and kind of became CEO. So Elon Musk had not found Tesla, but he did take over as CEO and is the controlling owner. And he was actually, and still is, running both of these massive companies, a startup in the aerospace industry and a startup in the car and automobile industry, which, to give you an idea of how difficult that is to do, the last successful automobile industry startup was Chrysler in 1925. So we're coming up on a century since a new car company has been started. And Elon Musk was running both these companies. They were doing well. He had actually married a new wife. She was an actress, young, very beautiful. They got along very well. There's kind of a misconception that Musk is not empathetic and not emotional, and this was considered not true. That he basically had a dividing line, a very strong dividing line between his personal relationships and his business relationships. So he would, you're my employee, you should be doing this, and he would fire you. He didn't have good, strong, empathetic relationships with his employees necessarily, although he did, achieve greatness. He really pulled greatness out of the employees and got people to do things that they didn't think they could. But in his, he was very romantic, and if you do watch his interviews, he is kind of charming and charismatic in his own little weird way. And that's something that he's developed over time. But in 2008, he was, he's running SpaceX and he's running Tesla. And 2008 hits, the market crashes, and both of them looks like they're going to go out of business. And at one point, Elon Musk, who made $140 million off the sale of PayPal, he's now looking like he might actually go bankrupt. And of course, this is crazy for him, but he keeps working, and at this time he's working about 100 hours a week, which if you divide that by 7 is, if you worked 7 days a week, that's over 14 hours a day. And he said there's some weeks he would work 120, he would sleep on the Tesla factory floor. So this man was just working beyond imagination, working incredibly hard, incredibly visionary, and he ended up pulling together a series of weird loans that pretty much never been done before, and ended up getting the money for Tesla. And then, Tesla's order came through and they were able to deliver the next stock of cars, and it kept Tesla alive. And Tesla's now built into the incredibly popular car brand it is today. What Elon Musk did differently with Tesla and SpaceX versus other car companies and rocket companies is he focused on the product over the profitability. So his goal was to create the best car. It should be electric. He had these grand goals, and he focused everything on that because he knew if he could create this perfect car that it would sell. He doesn't advertise. He doesn't have these huge factories that pumps out tons and tons of cars. No, he creates the best cars. If you actually look and compare Teslas to, their gas counterparts, they require less maintenance. They have better performance. They are better cars, and they can also be updated via software. So it's like your phone. You can get updates on your car and it'll get the new stuff. So he started first with the Roadster, which is Tesla's sports car. I think when it started, it had around $100,000 price point, and the new Roadster that's coming out has about a $200,000 price point. But this car it's got the fastest acceleration on the market because it is electric, and you create more torque with an electrical vehicle. And then he went on to create car after car after car that beat anything comparable to it, because for him, designing was not to make money. He kind of had a give me success or give me death mindset, where he would put everything he had, all of his millions of dollars, into this company, go at it 100%, give everything he could, instead of giving up and selling short, creating a less good car just to make money. And they did the same thing with SpaceX, where his first 3 rockets all crashed, and after the first rocket crashed, he had them do some new changes. So usually if you were Boeing and your rocket crashed, you're going to change nothing except to fix the problem. Well, Elon Musk said, we can make it better. We have some better ideas, so we're going to implement these new ideas. And one of those new ideas actually failed in the 3rd test run. So in Tesla's 4th test run, they actually had 2 things that they were trying to fix in the same run, which is not how you do rockets. And so they made it past the first phase, and they were still freaked out because they'd never gotten the opportunity to test that original problem from the 2nd launch. It wasn't tested on the 3rd launch, because on the 3rd launch, it didn't even make it that high to have this part become useful. And also at this point, if this rocket failed, they were out, they were done, they were bankrupt, it was game over. And so people who'd literally been working 80, 90 hours a week for years for Elon, because they believed in this product too. And that's something that he did a good job. He inspired. He was very visionary, and he could instill his vision in people around him, because you're not working for, if you were working for Boeing, let's say, you're like, wow, I'm creating this cool plane. Well, if you work for Elon Musk at Tesla or at SpaceX, you are bringing sustainable energy to the world, or you are putting, the humans on Mars. So it's a totally different vision. And he would have people who were being offered more money to go work in an easier environment, and they would turn it down, probably under a less frustrating boss, and they would turn it down because this was the opportunity to change the world. And so that was one of the ways he inspired just such vigor. And you can hear it from the employees that were interviewed for the book. They respected Musk. Even the ones he'd fired, they respected him so much, because he really got greatness out of people. He would take someone and he would work them to death, but when you're working for a cause like that, you're able to work a lot harder. And you're also, he wasn't, sitting back and saying, oh, do this. No, he was in the front lines. He spent about 80% of his time doing the actual engineering. So you'd go down to work, and, your CEO, Elon Musk, this, huge mega millionaire, is there designing with you. And so because of his leadership style and his relentless effort, the rocket, they pulled it off, and Tesla pulled it off. And now he's, worth billions and billions of dollars. But you can also tell he doesn't do it for the money. And his second wife, she said this, she talked about this. You know, the money kind of just, it's a tool to Elon. You know, he has these goals to put humans on Mars. That's his you know, that's his fun goal. He describes it. You know, that's why he wakes up in the morning, is I want to be a multi-planetary species. And so he's driven to put the people on Mars, and also to, you know, take all this gas and the CO2 that we're putting in the atmosphere through burning, you know, oil and diesel. He wants to replace all that with electricity. When he goes about doing things in these unconventional ways, you know, most business people are like, you're crazy, because he will continuously risk it all. And he's even doing it today. While he's worth billions and billions of dollars, he will he'll sell a company, make $140 billion and put it all into his next thing and risk it all again. And so there's actually an argument that Elon Musk will become the first trillionaire, because people are saying, you know, he is the only person who's willing to make it to Jeff Bezos's level and then gamble all of that on either I'm going to go broke or I'm going to make this incredible amount of money. But it's not for the money. It's I'm going to achieve, you know, imagine if he created a colony on Mars. You know, one time in an interview, he joked that his title, once they colonized Mars, would either be Emperor or God Emperor. And while he was joking, it kind of leaves the point that you did take people to Mars. You should, you know, you got a bunch of rich people who can afford it living on Mars. You know, you're going to be in some kind of very powerful position. But again, he's doing it because, you know, that's just what he wants to do. He wants to put people on Mars. And so the book kind of culminated with what he's doing today, which is leading SpaceX and Tesla. He's also started the Boring Company, which originally started as a spiff, but it's the idea to actually drill underground, make tunnels underground to alleviate, you know, because if people, his description was you have people in three-dimensional apartments driving on a two-dimensional road system to three-dimensional office buildings. And his goal is to actually create a tunnel system, because when you actually do the physics and the math and the economics, it's a lot cheaper to drill tunnels, because you can keep going down and down, than to build up, because it costs an incredible amount of money to defy gravity, whereas the structure of the ground is already built. You know, you're drilling into it, and he does say you need about a 10-fold efficiency increase in, you know, drilling. But he actually has a plan to achieve that, which is what separates Musk from a lot of people. Is he sees a problem, figures out what the problem is. Most people can't do that, and then he makes a plan to solve that problem, and he actually goes at it and solves that problem. And so he has the Boring Company, which he's running, which sells flamethrowers and merchandise to finance itself. So that's kind of what Elon Musk is doing right now. He's also working on Neuralink, which is a electronics company that's basically trying to connect humans and computers, because Elon Musk is also passionate about advanced intelligence and cyborgs, and he goes a little crazy there in my opinion. But, you know, it's the cutting edge of technology again. So I'm studying engineering at UF, and Elon Musk is a personal hero of mine because he embodies the ideals of engineering, of always pushing yourself and always trying to create new things, and, you know, solving the problems of the world through technological advances. You know, we can, when you see a problem like, you know, sustainable energy and pollution, you know, he's one of the people out there on the forefront. For example, Tesla Motors, the company, that require a lot of batteries, and there really aren't enough batteries in the world to have all the cars run completely off electricity. And so he has actually started building factories to create these batteries. You know, there's these massive gigafactories, is what they're called, that just produce a ridiculous, almost unimaginable amount of batteries every day. So I know that summary ran a little long. I'm very passionate about this book. The book was done incredibly well. For a review, I would give it, again, I have between an 8.7 out of 10. It's incredibly well written. The stories are told well, and the author is wonderful and does a great job of diving into, you know, the psyche of Musk, and not painting him as either a hero or a villain, but, you know, showing what he's done and his visionary, his vision and how incredible and how powerful it is, but also, you know, the drawbacks and the troubles with the relationships and stuff that he's had. The takeaways from this book, I would say they're all about Musk. You know, I think 1 in every million person should work as hard and be like Elon Musk. But I think that everyone can take lessons away from his life and the way he does live to model in their own lives. And the first one is he's passionate, he's driven, and he's visionary. That's 3. But when you're doing what you love, you have this incredible vision, this big, huge, important goal. When you're doing what you love and you're focusing on it, you can work 100 hours a week, and yes, it'll suck, but it'll be worth it. That's something that he's portrayed in his life, is that these things are incredibly difficult, but look what we're doing. We're doing truly great things. And so I think it's important for everyone, whatever your own personal vision is, and it might not even be your vision. You might, oftentimes you latch onto the vision of another person. So if you were a really powerful, electrical engineer or mechanical engineer, latching onto Elon Musk's vision about, creating a sustainable future is very worthy. But when you're working with that long-term goal in mind, you're able to achieve and do a lot more. And, he definitely was demanding. And I think that that's something you have to kind of, if you want to be either working for someone who's visionary, or you are visionary yourself and you want to be passionate, you have to understand that you can't demand too much of people who aren't you. Whether you're on the giving or the receiving end of that, you kind of have to understand that there are some people who they're so focused on the future that they will give up everything in the moment. And so that kind of, full circle between being either being or following the type of person, but also connecting with people better than Musk. I guess there's no doubt that we need people like Elon Musk in our world, but you can learn also what not to do from him, because he has made mistakes. He's got failed relationships clearly with his father and with at least one wife, and with a lot of different investors and CEOs, at least in his earlier days. So to summarize down that takeaway, it is you need the vision and you need the passion, and you of course need the hard work, but also understanding that not only the people around you, but you yourself are human, and to try to enjoy the moment and get the connections, make the friends, and enjoy your life in the moment, which is something that Elon Musk has talked about not being able to do. He talked about in another interview I watched that sometimes he can't sleep because he just can't stop thinking about designs and engineering. So, and also it's an ode to not envy someone. Oh, he's a billionaire, he runs all these companies. You probably shouldn't envy Elon Musk, and you probably don't want to be Elon Musk. So a little bit to think about there with the drip, the vision, the drive, also the humanity, and living in the moment and enjoying yourself. Thank you guys so much for watching. Knowledge is power. Reading is knowledge. So reading is power. Thank you so much for watching the video and spending a little bit of time with me. If you feel like you enjoyed it, like, comment, subscribe, and I will be back within the next week with another video. Have a great day. Bye.